This is Cyndy G, and in this video we are doing the gingerbread cat and the gingerbread dog. And I'm going to start by preparing the base. To do that, we want to start by folding these pieces here. We're just making this little quarter space gap here that we're going to glue, excuse me, to the inside of the card. This will help kind of lock the card open when you open it. And these tabs here, these last tabs, fold down like this. So I am just going to take my glue, put a line of it in here. You don't want to do too much because it will ooze out. And I do have to just hold it a few seconds because this is kind of thick and you just want to give your glue a second to grab hold. I do get lots of questions about the glue that I use. I use Scotch tacky glue, but I put it into this fine tip bottle. The bottle brand I used to use was Darcy, but I haven't been able to find that brand in a while. But this is the Scotch. It's a quick dry tacky glue. And I just transfer it into this bottle. So there's the base. I've already put the panels on. And now I'm just going to set that aside and let it dry. So this is the house. It's the cat house and the dog house. This is what it looks like when it's finished. So let's just pull this in. It is a double layer, so I have already glued that together. And these are the other pieces. So what you can do with this, if you want all different colors, just use the little circles on the back that you have in your file. If you just want it one color, you can just put a solid piece back here. I was thinking, I thought that I had included it, but I don't think I included just one solid piece of this in the file. But it's not too difficult to glue these little circles in place. I thought that would be easier than trying to glue the sprinkles. And I just use my glue bottle and just put glue around the cutout and then put the circle on, because then this will be glued down, so you don't need a whole lot to hold that in place. I have inked all of my edges. Typically I do blue with my white, but because this is a gingerbread house, I used brown to kind of make it look toasty. And so now on to putting the house together. So because it's gingerbread, it does have like the frosting outline. And to kind of make this easier for lining up, the top of this is the same size and it just goes in at the bottom. So you're just going to line this up right to the top. So the whole top is the same size. So you just line that right up, and then you have your nice even border around. And then putting it here on the base, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to line up the roof right to the top. Now you do want to do this as a double layer because this piece is taller and you're going to need that stability so that it doesn't flop over. For some reason, this piece is just really wanting to curl on me. So the reason I put them together prior to the video is so they have time to dry, and I dry them under my mat to help flatten them. But this piece is not wanting to stay flat. So then just carefully put your glue around. Don't knock your circles off. And you're just going to line this up right to the top. Okay. And now for the doorway, you're just going to put these two pieces together. Pieces like this fine tip bottle really comes in handy, so you could just put a dot of glue in there. And I just use my fingers to kind of line this up, obviously. And I also just dab, because you see the glue has come through a little, and I just dab my fingers on this until the glue, sometimes if it's a little thicker, I'll use my nails, but they've all been breaking because the weather is turning cold and they're all getting brittle. And then we're just going to glue this right onto the house. Okay, just like that. Now, if you wanted your doorway to be a little darker, I would just take some ink before you glue this on and like dab it on there and then put that on. And then you don't have to worry about having two different colors, an extra piece. You could just use your ink to shade this. And I kind of wish I would have done that, but I didn't, so. And then this bone, the concept is the same as the house. Everything's lined up to the top so that you don't have to worry about. So see, I'm just lining that right up, and then I've got a nice little border because I did have frosting dripping on the top of this little bone, the ginger bone. Just like that. And then place it on this piece. This is the only piece that is not doubled, and that's because it's short. It's a short enough piece that you really don't need to double it, but if you find that it's a little floppy here, just double it if you're using a thinner cardstock. Now, there are several pieces to the dogs, so some of them I have already put together. The little patch for the stomach, you want to line it up to the top, and then that will give you your nice border around. And the paws, you just want to center those. Same for his snout, center the piece and then put his little nose on. I've already applied, I'm sorry, I slowed down a little bit. I already applied the black to the back here for his eyes. I tried it with white eyes and I really didn't like it. But that's just a matter of preference. If you want the eyes to be like frosting, just eliminate this piece and glue his head directly onto the white. I also tried the red and I didn't particularly care for that either. So whatever color you want the eyes to be, if you want to do a color for the gingerbread, maybe match his nose to it, might tie it together a little bit better. And just center that right in there. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to mention about, I have a net, there we go, about these pieces, you do want the top piece to be the white because this is, you're going you're going to kind of center this on there, and that is the border for the dog. And because of that, I'll show you how this is an older pad. You can kind of see it's tore up, so it's not real inky. And so I can brush this one directly on. And I just touch the edges there. Okay, so let's start by just putting the dog together. And I'm going to first put his head on because everything kind of lines up to the head. So put that there like that. And then you will see that the centers of the ears line right up to the curve there of the head. So go ahead and put those on. So it seems like, doesn't seem like, there is quite a few pieces to him, but it's nothing really difficult. And then his ear on this side flops over. So I've already centered the little piece on here, and you can kind of see the outline of it here. And we're just gonna put some glue on there and line it right up. So you want to make sure to put that inner ear piece in there. If you wanted to eliminate that one, I think it would look okay. If you're trying to cut down on the number of pieces you have to put on. And then his little snout just lines up right there to the bottom of his head. And you want to put his tummy on before his scarf. And this little curve, you're just going to line him right up right there to his head. Just kind of center it. And I'm going to go ahead and put his feet on before I put the scarf on. If you need to, you can use some tweezers or something to hold this. And you'll see once we put them on the white that all this will be outlined. But right now it's just easier to do this before we put them onto this base. And I'm going to attach the scarf. And you can see where that scarf goes there, side to side. Now I do almost all the time ink my edges. And my rule of thumb is any dark color I use, the brown, red, I typically use black as my ink color. I think maybe when I did this one I might have used the brown. I definitely did not use the brown for the red, but you could. Any color that's going to show up dark. And so you can see you're just going to kind of line him up right in the center. And then there he is. So there's nothing super difficult about him. He just lays right on there. But he does have several pieces. Okay. So I'm going to just go right in here to putting the cat together. The cat's paws in the front are together. The frosting is together, and then you just put the paws centered. His little tummy is a little rounder. And he has a scarf. And then his eyes, because I didn't like his nose and his mouth black, are designed to kind of cut around his nose and his mouth. So that's what this funny piece right there is for. Now I'm just going to attach this to the white. And you're just going to center it right in here. There we go. And then line his head up. And you'll notice that when you are lining up the head of both the dog and the cat, that the brown part on like here at the top and on the sides is lining up to the white. I wanted to make sure it was easy for you to line that up. And then you can see when we bring this in that he's just gonna line right up like that. Okay, so I'm gonna put his little tummy on. And then put his paws on. Now, when you put his paws on, you're going to want to make sure not to go below his paws here, because the way that these cards work, you don't want to interfere with the way that it opens and closes. So just make sure that you're not going below his feet. And then we can put his scarf on. Oops. Okay. And now let's center him on his base or her base. Okay. And then the cat has this fish. And just line it up here to the top. Okay. All right. And then let's bring in our base. So you have one piece that has a slit right on the fold. You can see that slit is right on the fold. This is the top, okay? And the centerpiece is the cat or the dog, whichever one you're assembling. Then you slide the pieces in. You know, I still do this. Every time I put one of these together, I still slide the pieces in and then take them out from top to bottom like that. Okay, and I've made mistakes when I haven't done it, so I do it every time. It doesn't take any time to do it, and it just helps me feel confident. So what I did was I slid this piece in through the bottom, and then you're going to fold this tab up. There is a score line there, and apply some glue. And we are gluing this to the bottom piece on the card. I have to hold this just for a few seconds, make sure it stays. Okay. So again, you slide it in through the top and down through the bottom. Turn your card over. Hold it up, and then we're going to glue it. Okay, and now flip it back over. And now this piece does not have a score line, you can see here on the base, because this is the piece that opens and closes the card. So it is done a little bit differently. And I like to, when I put my card in, I like to line this piece up. You can see here like it's not lined up. I think you can see that. I just like to line it up to the piece in front. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put glue on the center piece, and we're going to glue this tab to it. So just to the center piece, and watch that the glue doesn't get down, whoops, down in there where I just put it. You want it only here on your cat. And I'm just holding this to really make sure that it grabs hold. And then you're going to lift this top tab up, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to glue this tab down. And we're only gluing the centerpiece to the tabs. Just make sure. And now's the test. You just going to push it up, and you should sometimes, because I don't want to put too much glue, my ends right there don't get stuck as well as I would like it. So just squeeze those like I just did. So you can see when I push it, the top rises, the bottom rises, the pieces are going up and down. So if you push this up, like here, see how that went up without this piece? So if you do that over here and this piece doesn't go up, you have forgotten to glue this to your center, okay? Because that is what makes that go up. So now to close it, we're going to fold this tab up, and this tab stays down. I'm going to show you on this one because it's just easier to see here. And I'm going to put glue just on these tabs. And you can see that I'm kind of keeping it a little bit away from the edge because I don't want to glue my card shut. And I'm going to sandwich this together. I'm going to put these right together. These two, top and bottom, okay? So it's thicker right in here at the top, so you really have to squeeze this and hold it down real good. Make sure that gets stuck. And then I always test it. And I push it up and down. Everything goes up and everything goes down the way that it should. These pieces look like they're closed well. So now I can just close the card up. And there is the cat. And now let's put the dog together. And again, we want the centerpiece and then the dog bone. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take them out from back to front and start with this piece. And it goes in through the top and down through the bottom. And then I'm going to fold this tab up, glue it to the bottom of the card. Now we start with this front piece in through the top and down through the bottom. hold it up. Do be careful because while the bone is slightly larger than the slit, you don't want to pull this piece too hard and pull the bone through your slit. Right here. You see it is slightly larger, but you don't want to pull too hard and pull that through. So now we're going to do our centerpiece and just line that up. And always make sure he's nice and snug down against, I don't want him up, I want him down, nice and snug. And then I line those pieces up. Now I'm just going to glue this right to the bottom here. Now we're just gluing the tab to the centerpiece. I know these are all the same color, so it's a little bit hard to distinguish, but you can see that, when I push this, this is not rising, and it's because I have not glued this piece down yet. So I'm just going to lift this, put some glue under here, and get this glued down to the top. You do want to make sure that it is in the down position before you glue this on. Okay, now when I push it, now it rises up. Okay, so then we're going to close it up the same way that we did the other one. Do be careful not to use too much glue. And again, because of the extra bulk right here, because of the inserts, you just have to really kind of push that down. And then you want to test it, and everything is operating the way that it should. So now we can go ahead and close it up. And there is the dog, gingerbread dog pop-up card. So that's the dog and the cat. Thank you for joining me.